We look into deeper what we can do with the artisans and the communities.
We have an unwavering commitment to our local communities and to do our part in helping them get through these challenging times.
They do things relevantly, and they are a perfect mix of doing business with community service.
The Tres Marias of ArteFino, hello and welcome to Janelle. Thank you so much for making time for us. I have been in the States since 2000 and I believe 3. And in the last few years, I've been seeing on social media the posts about ArteFino. And it actually piqued my interest because I myself, I'd like to support, right, Philippine arts and culture. But for those who are not familiar, what is ArteFino?
It was the time when I was the president of the Museum Foundation. Museum Foundation is the funding arm of the National Museum. And so that was the first time that we had what we call it at that time was hobby. And we had Philippine textiles all over the Philippines and coupled with a fashion show. So what happened is that it became quite successful and people really wanted to say, wow, we have this kind of products in the Philippines. I said, definitely. Didn't you know about it? So that started it. And so we had it for many years until we come to meet some artisans and communities. And that changed the platform because we looked into deeper what we can do with the artisans and the communities. So because of that, because of our desire to be able to showcase our Filipino products, that's when ArteFino was born. So that's where we are now. And we have Elena here, Elsie, who is with us. So Mel, maybe you can continue what we have been doing with ArteFino.
Yes, Mel, can you explain to us what ArteFino was when it started and how it's grown?
ArteFino has come such a long way from when we first started. We launched it in 2017, really with the main goal of promoting Philippine artisanal crafts because we saw the potential and we saw how they could compete on the global platform. Like when we would travel, we'd see all these products from all over the world and we'd say our products can very well meet these standards and compete on the global platform. So the whole point of establishing ArteFino was to showcase our locally made Filipino arts and crafts and make everyone proud of what we do, of our artisans locally, and to support them at the end of the day, to support their livelihood.
Right. And so you were saying that ArteFino started as was it a bazaar or a fair?
It was an artisan fair. When we set up ArteFino, we had very strict guidelines, and we still do, right, Elsie? We have strict guidelines on how to apply for the fair because we had a limited capacity and we had limited space. So we had to be very selective in choosing our brand partners who would exhibit during the fair. And we adhered to 3 guidelines. The aesthetic, does it look good? Just overall, how does it look? The craft, what is the craft that this product is promoting? Is it weaving? And the last one is a community story. Which community, where do they come from? Is this a tradition that is dying already and needs to be sustained? So those 3, but since the pandemic hit last year, we added a 4th criteria, which is relevance, right? Tita Vita, when we're curating, we always ask, is it relevant to our quarantine lifestyle? Because it has changed completely. The pandemic has changed our curation completely. It's now a more pared down, simplified aesthetic, also more price sensitive.
Right. And Elsie, you're one of the partners that got in, right? Could you take us through your 3 criteria that you met?
Joining ArteFino, it may be very hard to get in, but once you're inside, you know that you will be well looked after. We have a very good village-like relationship where we actually know each other, and sometimes some of us share whatever we have with the other people. So that is something that is different. We have a very good relationship with each other. So yeah, Mel and Mita, since you're here, I'd like to say that I'm sure I echo everybody feels the same way about being with ArteFino, and we miss being in that action world truly.
You mentioned that, Elsie, and you mentioned it, Mel, about the pandemic. You know, it has really upended our lives, right? What were the challenges that you faced, and what were the pivots that you've had to make because of the pandemic?
Well, I think the pandemic has allowed us some form of quietude. It has given us that time to think. It allowed us to be creative. I guess there are only two things you can do when you are faced with challenges like this. You either become more creative or you just slow down and do nothing. And I think that is the reason why there are so many creations that has come out nowadays because of this pandemic. It's not truly a negative thing. Of course, on the financial side, the business side, we're all suffering. But I think this has made us realize that there is so much more to do. There's so much to do here in the house, outside, and to come up with, just like what everybody said, more relevant products.
What we're doing now is we try to have more on the home products, on the home that, because people are staying inside. Like me, for example, I have not got out, so I have to look for a tray. So where would I look? I look at ArteFino. So that's, it's you could, now that you're in your home most of the time doing a Zoom or other kinds of meetings, you try to check around. Hey, how come I didn't know I didn't have this? So now you go to ArteFino and try to find out what you can get. And with Mel there and the rest of the partners, we are trying to get more products, home products, and a more reasonable priced products.
Yeah.
Right. What I also like is that, like, I am here in the States, and this is being viewed by our viewers on TFC here in the United States, that they can now peruse the products that you have because you have a website.
When the pandemic hit last year, we had a fundraiser. It was a COVID response. We raised funds for the PGH. We had we were able to donate 200,000 pesos worth of UV sterilizers because the PGH, the Philippine General Hospital, was declared a COVID hospital. So we are deeply proud of that we were able to raise that amount at the height of the pandemic last year. That was July. And then the next thing we did, and I guess this is the upside of the pandemic, it gave us it was a catalyst for us to set up our shopartefino.com website, which we had been planning on for like probably a year already. But when the pandemic hit, boom, we had a website. It was like instantaneous. And that one also, we wanted to offer international shipping, which is why we partnered with DHL, because the international market was always feeling left out. And we knew this. They would always say, but how do we get your products? Do you ship to the US? And we don't. Or, even here in Asia, we didn't. But now we do. So we ship globally, where DHL will take us. So that's one of the upsides, at least, of having this digital platform, because we did have to forgo our fair last 2020, which is such a high foot traffic event.
Right. So thank you for doing that, no? Staying true to your word that you're not just taking care of each other, you're also taking care of the larger community. You're basically, with your help with the PGH. That's wonderful. And what's wonderful is now us Filipinos living abroad or living in the United States can actually help, because when we purchase products, I know that this also gives jobs to the artisans, right? In the
Artisans, yes.
provinces in the
Yes.
Philippines. Now, you mentioned earlier about community, the community story behind it. And I'm also particularly interested in that. What are some, or can you share some of the like inspiring, striking stories of the artisans, the entrepreneurs that you've partnered with at ArteFino?
You know, when the pandemic hit last year, we asked for quarantine lifestyle relevant products for the new website, and it was amazing how everybody like shifted right away. You know, for instance, designer Jarrell Espina. He is very popular for his bomber jackets, which are made of barong material. He had tote bags and trays made of barong still. So keeping within the same concept and aesthetic, but making it more pandemic relevant and quarantine relevant. So that's like one way. Actually, Elsie herself started to develop bed runners and table runners and pillowcases. So they all shifted to a more, you know, I think a part of it was also because our homes have become our sanctuaries. Here in Manila, we are very much still in a lockdown mode, in a quarantine mode. So our homes, all of a sudden, like Tita Mita said, you know, you want it to be a place of healing as well, like mind and body healing. So, and we hope that with the ArteFino products that we offer, such as loungewear, protective wear, we have masks, more relaxed clothing, tableware, and a lot of home blankets and throws, that we are able to provide some sort of like a refuge, you know, from the news that is happening out there.
And Tita Mita, this is one of your passions as well, is preserving Filipino heritage, right? So
Yes.
I am actually raising biracial kids here in the States. They're half Filipino, half English, and I want them to know about the Filipino culture. And this is great, Mel and Elsie as well, because now if I order something and I have it at home, it's something that it's something I can use to teach my children about culture, about their Filipino culture
Yes.
and heritage. Correct, Tita Mita? Did you
Yeah, right. Well, we're now celebrating Heritage Month this May, and we have been having programs which would really try to promote our own culture, not only maybe in the field of textiles, but also showing what kind of what we have, like an essay contest on the different heritage sites in the Philippines. And last year we did this, and we had more than almost 1,000 participants. So they tried to give us an essay both in Tagalog and in English about our heritage sites. Now we have our a trivia on our national artists.
Right.
So these are all ongoing during this pandemic, during this month of May. And what is now going to be shown on YouTube is that we are going to have a balanghay, which is the boat that our forefathers used, and the galleon. So there's a connection between the balanghay and the galleon, and it's going to be shown in YouTube. What I can do is I can share it with you so people can see what the Philippine galleon, how it did, what happened, why we have a galleon with Mexico and things like that. And like, can you see what I'm wearing now? This is from this is cross stitch done by a community in is that Lake Cebu?
Lake Cebu, yes.
Mel? Lake
South
Cebu.
Cotabato, yeah.
South Cotabato. So it's done by one of our partners, one of our vendors there. And that's why I said, I'm going to wear it. I'm going to share to you that, you know, we have this kind of products that we are very, very proud of. And I think I would like to share with you something. During our exhibits, before this pandemic thing, some of these young ladies who are from the States would come and say, Mom, how come we don't see this in the US? How come we don't see this? Can you bring us, can you show us what all these exhibits that you have so that we can, it touched me, because I said, wow, you mean you miss the Philippines? You mean you miss what we have here about our, Mom, we don't know so much about our heritage. So we would like, if you can bring your exhibits to she was from San Francisco, I think, to the West Coast. I said, we'll do it. Okay, so that was before when,
Please tap me for that when it's ready, when the world is ready, and I'd love to be a part of that. Mel, you want to add something?
No, I wanted to show, you're saying you're raising biracial kids, right? When we have these products in our homes, even with my kids are Filipino, both Filipino, but it's a piece of your heritage that you're carrying with you, like what Tita Mita is wearing, what I'm wearing. This is a bell from Ilocos. These bags of Zarawan. This is a rattan bag. It's a jeepney. So it's you are carrying a piece of your heritage with you, and with that, the stories, the history of that craft and that product, right? You're carrying it with you.
Right, definitely needed now, especially with what we're battling with here in the States, right? The Stop Asian Hate. One of the things we've been talking about is to create and instill that great pride in each one's culture, so that we're not bullied when we go out, and we're ready to stand our ground, and we're ready to fight for ourselves, and fight for the right to belong here or wherever we want to be, right?
This is the only way that we can come up with products that could be appreciated elsewhere, everywhere, that we are proud as Filipinos, because we would like to step up.
I would like to encourage more Filipinos to be aware of who we are, because I think if we know our heritage, then we are able to love our country.